Up next, we shed light on international media coverage of events on the Korean Peninsula. And as always, Kim Sung-yeon joins me now. Sung-yeon, welcome.
Great to see you again, Sunny. So major foreign media outlets throughout the week, of course, was focusing this week on the COVID-19's exit strategy of Korea. And today I also brought in stories about Samsung's foldable phones, Korea's esports talent, and the entertainment industry as well. So let's dive right in. Korea took its first step towards a gradual return to normal this week, shifting away from a strategy of containment to that of living with COVID-19. The Asia Times suggests that it's a prudent strategy that the wider world may want to pay attention to, given the prior successes that Korea has had on the pandemic front. It noted that Korea has emerged as a global leader in pandemic management, but also mentioned that things have been tough, particularly for the service sector, and that small businesses stand to benefit the most from the easing of restrictions.
Right, Sung-yeon, talking about benefit, I hear Samsung's foldable phones that you mentioned earlier are looking to make most of their growing popularity.
Yes, that's right. So Samsung believes their foldables will become the next big thing, Sunny. The company has invested heavily into these devices while forecasting a spike in sales of the new gadgets as well. So Bloomberg wrote that the sales of foldable phones by Samsung are expected to increase several folds this year compared to 2020 and continue to show significant growth next year. The vice president of the company's mobile division said Samsung believes it has succeeded in starting and leading the mainstreaming of foldables in the market. The electronics giant launched the third generation Galaxy Z Fold and Galaxy Z Flip in August, and powered by the Z Flip 3, the lineup sold 1 million units in Korea at the fastest pace for any Samsung smartphone in 2 years. Now, Bloomberg highlighted that the company is counting on these devices to lead the charge against Apple's iPhone, particularly this coming winter holidays.
Right, and staying with that optimism, Korea has always been an Esports powerhouse, Sung-yeon, but I hear prospects there are looking even brighter.
Yes, so seems to be so. A story was written on how esports in Korea is ever more growing and getting a boost from the big businesses here in the country, while a late-night game curfew for children has now been lifted as well. So Reuters highlighted that gamers can now benefit from the country's announcement in August that it would abolish a decade-old law that bans children below the age of 16 from playing online games on computers from midnight to 6 a.m. The article makes note that such a move by Korea is in contrast to that of China, which is the world's biggest esports market, which in late August drastically limited the amount of time that under 18s can spend on video games. Now, these developments come just ahead of next year's Asian Games, where esports will feature as a medal event for the very first time. Reuters says that although Korean government support for the esports industry has been lackluster up until now, the vacuum had been filled with investments from big businesses and other private entities so far.
I see. Well, that is good to know. And moving on, Squid Game continues to be all the rage. Sung-yeon, what is the latest on that front?
So I came across an interesting article on the Financial Times this week, not just about Squid Game, but about the Korean entertainment and the Korean content in general. The Financial Times described Korean content as having bulldozed its way into the global cultural consciousness in recent years. It says that while the success of Squid Game illustrates the potential of Korean content in attracting global audiences, it has also brought to light a growing dilemma for Korean entertainment companies. The predicament being how to move from producing content that performs well on foreign platforms such as Netflix to growing its own platform so that they can emerge as global players in their own right. It reports that having given the world K-pop, Parasite, and Squid Game already, Korea is now looking to create its own independent platforms to distribute local content globally.
Right, independent platforms. And that is something we will dig deeper into during our panel discussion in a bit. In the meantime, Sung-yeon, thank you for that coverage.
Thanks for having me.